Hello Dairy Today viewers. On behalf of the Market 360 advisors here at Stewart-Peterson, I'm Bob Devenport, and this is your Dairy Week in Review for January 30th, 2015. So to start out here, let's take a look at where our CME dairy components settled at the conclusion of this week's trade. It was a solid week overall for dairy, with some news kind of supporting milk prices here this week, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. But for now, let's take a look at our components here. Blocks finished the week at 153 1/4, up 5 1/4 cents. Barrels settled the week at 150 1/2, up 6 cents. Cash butter had a really solid week, settling at 175 even, up 20 cents. February whey settled at 53 cents, up just around 3 cents on the week, and February non-fat dry milk settled at 109.60, up 8.6 cents this week. Shifting over to Class 3 futures, saw some very nice rallies here this week. However, we did pull back from the highs quite a bit, but we were still able to post over $1 gains here this week for February and March. February settled at $16 even. That's a gain of $1.02 a hundredweight on the week. March settled at $15.66, up $1.02 also on the week. So that brings our 2015 average price now up to $16 1/4 for that January to December calendar average price. That's a gain of 75 cents a hundredweight on that average for the week. So a very solid week for 2015 contracts across the board this week. So let's take a look at some charts here. Let's start out with our spot cash cheese trade. So starting out, let's look at a weekly chart of the block barrel average here. You can see that we have gone through obviously a massive sell-off from the highs that we were back in September here, the record highs. We dropped pretty significantly, and we're not too far off of those lows at this point in time, but we have come up just a little bit. The buyers are returning to the cash market. They've been interested in buying both blocks and barrels all this week, but the sellers are also interested in selling at the same time. So the sellers have been there to meet those bids and offload carloads of both blocks and barrels here. So it's kind of limiting gains to the upside. Overall on the week though, the block barrel average did settle 5 5/8 cents higher, and the total price of the block barrel average at Friday's settlement is 151 7/8. So that's almost 7 cents or so off of just the recent low here, which is a pretty sizable bounce that can really support a nice rally in Class 3 prices. So let's change gears here and shift over to the weekly spot butter chart. So here we have a weekly chart of cash butter trade, and you can see the chart looks a lot like that of the cash cheese trade. You know, we topped out here back in September, took a big leg down, and now we're working our way off of those lows a little bit. The cash butter price settled at 175 this week, and that's a pretty substantial bounce from the lows that we were at not too long ago here. That's a gain of 20 cents on the week, so that could be supportive as well. The buyers have definitely been interested in butter here this week. There's even some buyers bidding for 10 carloads at a time, so the demand is definitely there, but a lot like cheese, the sellers are also willing to sell quite a bit of butter at this price as well, so that's been limiting the upside. However, the buyers really led the way this week though, again with that 20-cent gain, so that should be supportive overall, and it looks to me like on the chart that there could be even a little bit more on the upside for room for prices to go higher as well. So let's take a look at what we saw in Class 3 now, and this is probably the big thing that everybody's talking about here this week. It was a volatile week overall. We saw some massive rallies, and then we saw some really volatile trade on Friday as well. And I think the big news this week that really lit the fire under prices on Thursday was some news out of New Zealand. It's been pretty dry down there, and there's some talk that they could be going into another drought. Now, if you remember, New Zealand went through a terrible drought back in 2013. It was the worst drought they had seen in over 50 years, and that had a major impact on their milk production. And it was really kind of this same time of year back in 2013. It was going through those first quarter months, really March into April is when it got the worst, so a little bit earlier this year. But Fonterra actually came out on Thursday, and they lowered their milk production projections for New Zealand by 3.3%. And once this news made its way out into our markets, we saw prices kind of explode to the upside. We had multiple contracts yesterday finish limit up 75 cents, so that's the biggest up move we've seen in quite some time now. And the fact that there were multiple contracts that settled up 75 cents was a sign, I think, that the market got a little worked up about that news out of New Zealand. I think, again, that memory is very fresh in everybody's minds that that drought can have a major impact on production. I think it's a little early in the game, though, and I think the market realized that maybe it was a little bit of an overreaction here just by the price action correction that we saw during Friday's trade. Early Friday morning, prices were up 60 cents, up 50 to 60 cents across the whole entire year of 2015, basically. But that didn't last very long. By mid-morning, we were already coming down off of those highs. We were up 60 cents in the morning. Ahead of cash cheese here, we were closer to unchanged. A lot of those months were 50, 60 cents off the highs. Some of them were even in negative territory, down 20 cents. So we saw just some massive, massive price swings during Friday's trade. It seems like the buyers just kind of disappeared there for a while and didn't really want anything to do with buying milk at those higher prices. Up 75 cents one day, up 50, 60 cents the next day. Just a little bit too much of a gain, I think, for a lot of the buyers out there to be buying into that. So we saw a little bit of a pullback into the close on Friday. The February contract still settled with a gain of 102 cents on the week, though. February milk settled at $16 even on Friday, up only 1 cent during Friday's trade, and it was down pretty significantly from where we hit the high. But you can see this chart again looks a lot like the cheese chart. We topped out back in September, saw a massive, massive sell-off, and now we're correcting a little bit. We've rebounded quite significantly from the low that we were at only a couple weeks ago here. And back when we were at that low, there's a lot of contracts on the board, a few contracts on the board anyway, that were below that $14 level. April milk was down around $13.50, and April milk has rallied over $2 since then. So we're going through a nice correction here. It's a little early, I think, to say if the drought down in New Zealand could possibly fuel more upside, or if this is just a short-term correction in that market. If it's just a short-term bounce, this is going to be an opportunity then. This is an opportunity for producers to be hedging their milk going through the rest of 2015. If it's just a short-term correction, there could be more downside coming. If that drought materializes, though, and gets a lot worse, that could be more of a bullish factor that could lead to more upside. But given the fact that we have seen a big rally here, it's a time to probably be taking action. You know, if you haven't done anything for 2015 yet, you can use strategies that still keep your upside open and still being able to take advantage of the bounce if you're worried about more upside unfolding going forward. So looking at the week ahead, not a lot going on as far as any fundamental reports go, but January milk does come off the board. Last trading day is Tuesday, and that'll make February that front month spot on the board then after January milk settles. Aside from that, that is going to do it for us here today. On behalf of the Market 360 advisors here at Stewart-Peterson, thanks for watching and have a great weekend.